states. Right. So women led the effort to make Minnesota one of the latest states to implement a universal free lunch program sparked by the federal government's pandemic response. And I think that they saw.
Okay.
Right. Well, they're using the excuse, but
go ahead.
The studies that showed that children that were fed and didn't have to worry about being hungry learned better, performed better, and that kids should not be hungry in school. Minnesota's universal free meal legislation is part of a burgeoning national movement to provide all students with no-cost breakfast and lunch. Through the end of 21-22 school year, the federal government provided free meals as part of its pandemic response, no matter a family's ability to pay. I know that happened for us too. I know my kids got like free lunch if they wanted it at school. I thought that was great. Like, we sent it lunch with them most of the time, but that it was available to them was huge. And by the way, most schools around the world, they make it free to students also. Lawmakers and advocates at public schools and for kids, talking not college, or I'm not even sure about high school, but lawmakers and advocates who fought to implement Minnesota's free school meals program expected to improve student health, behavior, attendance, and performance, and the stigma associated with receiving free meal or reduced price lunch, and stop shaming practices in which students without money for meals are overtly or covertly penalized. And they talk about all different kinds of scenarios and reasons why food insecurity, right, has been linked to school absences, poor reading, math test scores, misbehavior. Small children experiencing it are more likely to repeat a grade. So I want to see more universal. Look, we don't need to be funding Ukraine, $100 billion to Ukraine. We need to be funding feeding our kids and making sure that our kids going to school aren't embarrassed by the fact that they can't afford lunch. And I think this is a good thing. I know that the libertarians and the Republicans would definitely go bootstraps, and they would be completely against this. But this is one of these things.
Until it was their kid that didn't get lunch.
Well, the thing is that they're usually capitalists who can afford to pay for lunch. They're not usually of the poorer variety, in my experience. They tend to be those of more resources.
I don't know, they took our gerbs.
Well, maybe. Or they're just, I can't really explain why they would not want the costs. I mean, it's not, the costs are minimal and minuscule in comparison, and that is an investment that we need to make in our kids. That is the way that I would see this. Here's Leah Gardner, who is the policy director at Hunger Solutions Minnesota. I'm very grateful for a really broad, diverse coalition that came together to get this done. I wanted to see somewhere they talked about what the costs were. But she would send us off to school having some degree of certainty or reassurance that while at school, we would get something to eat. This is also reassuring for single parents and poorer families. And it's easing tensions from parents that are worried that they can't afford to pay for meals for their kids at school.
How dare you have children out of wedlock, sir?
Right?
How dare you?
Hold on a minute. I'm looking for. I'm trying to search for the dollar figures.
Yeah.
Older students typically know that their meal accounts are in arrears and avoid the lunch line altogether, so they won't be shamed in front of their peers. Students eligible to receive free or reduced meals also experience stigmas and fear standing out from their peers. But now that universal free lunch is a reality, she expects school personnel to benefit as well as students and families. Teachers and other personnel will no longer have to pack extra lunches for students without meals. Cafeteria workers will no longer feel the dread that accompanies turning a child away from the lunch line. School nutrition staff won't have to spend their time trying to recover meal debt. So, up top, though, I know I saw something about, here you go, $400 million in the program's first 2 years. to feed K through 12 students regardless of household income. I applaud that. 100% applaud that. So I wanted to give a shout out to that. That's where government can actually do something good, folks. Doesn't happen very often.
This should be like the bare minimum. This to me is like trains getting there on time.
Right?
It's like basic crap.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Also, how's Biden doing with the trains getting around on time? How's that?
Oh, goodness.
Is that working out?
They're not derailing.
Pete Buttigieg doing a great job, right?
When they don't derail.
Funny that. There's a joke in there, you know.
There's
even another guy got the trains on time, you know.